is an economic engine for the country. It's an economic engine for the state of Illinois. And I work very hard. I live here in the city of Chicago. I work very hard to try to promote the city, and World Business Chicago plays such an important role. I used to be a member of World Business Chicago before I became governor. Some of you know I was in business for 25 years before I ran for governor. And so it comes naturally to me to look for economic opportunity for our city and our state. You all in the Consular Corps, you truly have sacrificed so much. I know that you've moved yourselves and your families from far away often, from your home countries, for this incredible undertaking to be here in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. And on behalf of the state and the United States of America, I want to thank you for your service, for your friendship, for working together with us. We constantly look for opportunities here in Illinois to expand our relationships abroad, and you make that easy, all of you. I want to extend congratulations also to the new members of the Chicago Consular Corps. I look forward to working with all of you to forge new relationships for connection and collaboration between Illinois and your respective countries. My door is always open. I have said many, many times that we are open for business in the city of Chicago, in the state of Illinois. We want to talk to you and make it easier for your companies and the people that you represent to be part of what we do, and of course, vice versa. Now, seeing all the diversity and vibrancy that's in the room today, I am reminded and want to recount to all of you that 133 years ago, this city hosted a great global forum, and that was, of course, the World's Fair. There are still remnants of the World's Fair here, and I want to call those out, and also just point to it as a marker in the world where Chicago became, I think, known the world over. And we're proud of that, and we're proud to continue those relationships after these many, many years. Of course, that World's Fair was a months-long endeavor, a celebration of art and culture and architecture and technology and beyond from all over the world to the world. It was an opportunity for people across the globe to come together and get to know the city of Chicago as one of the great global cities and also as the heart of America. There's a map, of course, that puts us about in the center of this country, but it is also genuinely the heart of this country. There are no, I speak with some bias, of course, when I say this, but I really believe there are no more decent, honorable, kind people in this country than the people of the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. And I know that's a braggadocious thing to say, but I've lived in a number of places around the country, so I can speak at least with some authority about the idea that if you walk the streets around Chicago on a summer day and you'll see a tourist who's walking along, maybe a little lost, turning their map one way or the other, trying to figure out where they're going. And inevitably, there is some kind person who will stop and say, "Can I help you find what you're looking for?" And it's like that in no other city in America, I'm telling you. So I'm very proud of that. We celebrate the diversity of cultures, borders, languages, and we love to be a great global city to all of you. There are lasting reminders of the impact of that great World's Fair spread out all across the city. The Osaka Garden in Jackson Park on the south side of Chicago includes the Phoenix Temple that was gifted to us by the Japanese government at the conclusion of the fair. What was once the fair's Palace of the Arts now houses the world-renowned Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. But honestly, the real legacy of the fair, more impactful and enduring than any building that I could cite, is the spirit of welcome and curiosity and collaboration that continues to define us here in Illinois. It cemented Chicago's and Illinois' reputation as a global hub of international trade and travel and cooperation. And there are perhaps no better examples of how beneficial that free exchange is to economies and communities and democracies than this state. We produced 4 of our greatest presidents, I would argue, perhaps potentially the 4 greatest presidents of the United States. Abraham Lincoln, of course, the greatest president, truly. Also Barack Obama, Ulysses S. Grant, Ronald Reagan, and Illinois, as you know, is a top 4 state in the U.S. for exports, over $80 billion of goods, accounting for 7.4% of our state's GDP, and sustaining hundreds of thousands of jobs in our state emanate from Chicago and Illinois. That has been a specific goal of mine, to grow that, make sure that we are very much a part of the growth that you experience across the world, and that we help you grow just as we want to grow. We also have seen 35% growth in our exports just in the last few years, so we're really proud of that. And it's something, again, that I've made a dedicated endeavor of my administration. Having come from business, walking into the office of governor, there are a lot of things that you have to focus on. But one thing that you know is whatever it is that you came from, that may be the thing you know best. And so I walked into government knowing that one thing I could really help with is help us with our economic growth endeavors and relationships across the world. So last year we welcomed 113 million domestic and international visitors to Illinois, spending a record $48.5 billion. That has helped make Chicago O'Hare Airport once again the busiest airport in the United States, servicing 48 countries and hosting 134 airlines. Illinois has established itself as a powerhouse in science and innovation thanks to our efforts to foster international cooperation. Renowned institutions and world-class laboratories, the Molecular Engineering School at the University of Chicago, the AI labs and experts at University of Illinois' Engineering School in Urbana-Champaign, which, by the way, is a top 5 engineering school in the entire United States. The Institute for Quantum Information Research and Engineering at Northwestern University, Argonne National Laboratory, Fermilab, plus really so many more, are doing pioneering work to change the world as, to make sure that we're a robust destination for international research. So many scientists from your countries are here. So many scientists from Chicago and Illinois are in your countries. We are working together to make big things happen. Illinois' demographics, this may be a fact you did not know. Our demographics in the state of Illinois almost exactly mirror the demographics of the entire United States. There's no state that is more reflective of the diversity of this country. And that has benefited us in innumerable ways, and all of you, I hope, because of our willingness to embrace other cultures and our communities that have been truly profoundly shaped by that fact. We know inherently that we are all better off when we work together, and our success does not come at the expense of one another. Chicago and Illinois are living proof of that. Now, in this moment, I refuse to sit idly by as the chaotic and short-sighted views sometimes of our federal government attempt to determine our nation's future in a negative way, particularly when it comes at the expense of the people of my state. I'm here as governor of this state to protect the people of my state and do everything I can to advance their interests. And as governor, I've doubled down on Illinois' international relationships, going on trade missions, as was mentioned earlier, Japan, Canada, Mexico, United Kingdom. We have more that are planned, and I've talked to a few of you about even more. And we're pitching international companies. We're meeting with I have been meeting with some of your nation's leaders and reminding the world that Illinois remains open for business and ready to work together on the international stage. And at a time when autocrats and demagogues across the globe are closing borders and shutting down trade, Illinois continues to send a powerful message to the world by opening our doors and by doubling down on our rich tradition of economic and cultural exchange. I hope that you will join with us in that endeavor. I know so many of you have worked together with my team to make sure that we're doing that with your countries and with each of you. I'm proud to amplify that signal to all of you being here today and to tell you of what my goals are for our working together. And I look forward to forging even stronger bonds in our work together over the coming years. So have been told that you have a few questions. I'm happy to take those questions. Ambassador Mendibia.
Thank you, Ambassador Reina Torres, for giving us the opportunity today to have these important representatives addressing us this morning. So, Governor Pritzker, I was one of these tourists many years ago in the streets of Chicago, and that's why I'm here today, one of the reasons. So, thank you for that. Governor Pritzker, my question is, as Illinois continues to expand its role as an international logistics hub, how might we, as members of the Consular Corps, partner with your administration to promote greater trade, investment, and global connectivity? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question, and I'm glad you visited here and now have come back as a dignitary to represent your country. And let me first answer by saying we all need to push back on the kind of protectionist and retaliatory policies that have been put in place. I realize, one action begets a counteraction between countries, the result of which is less trade overall, and frankly, it has done, in my view, harm to our relationships with one another, not just the economic relationship, but the other, diplomatic relationships. So I think we should all be focused on that as one way for us to further our connection with one another. I think a second thing is I have tried very hard to find time to take trade missions to other countries to make sure that we're seeing each other face to face. I'm going to tell you one quick story. I was talking to former President Clinton one time, and he told me the story about how he was asked when he was a former president, Kim Jong-un, the father of Kim Jong-il, was holding some Americans. You may recall this during the Obama administration. He had 2 American women that they were holding because they'd crossed the border. And Kim Jong-un had asked President Clinton to come get them. He was willing to give them finally to the United States, but only if President Clinton came to pick them up. So he went in a private jet, not allowed to take a military jet to North Korea, and went in a private jet with, his own protection. It landed, got out of the plane. He said, the military was all lined up on a red carpet on the sides. He walked through there up to Kim Jong-un, and Kim Jong-un waved to him like this, like, come over here. And he took him over into a corner, and he said, President Clinton, do you know why I agreed only to give these women, these American citizens, back to you and to no one else? And he said, no, why? And Kim Jong-un said, because when my father died, you were the only Western leader that called me to express your condolences about the passing of my father, and you related to me about how much you missed your own father and the passing of your own father. And he said, and that meant so much to me. And he told me that story because he was trying to tell me that international relations are much more than just about the formalities. It's as much about the personal relationships that exist between one dignitary and another. And I really believe that that is true. I'm not suggesting that that solves everything, but sometimes it does make a difference to just have the personal relationship. So I tell you that by way of saying there are a lot of things that we ought to be doing to expand our economic relationships, but it is the personal relationships that we can have with one another that can make all the difference as we're trying to rebuild or build better relationships between one another in our countries.
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Governor, for your time. And other than my colleague from Peru, I've never been to Chicago before I was posted here. But now I'm eager also to bring more delegations from Germany here, because often we are overlooked and people go to the coast and to DC, but not really here. You recently signed an executive order establishing an Illinois State Attainment Working Group to evaluate Illinois' workforce and training needs, which includes also identifying future labor market demands across the state. Germany has had a long and good experience with its dual education system. There are more than 400 professions in which you can train in close partnerships between companies and schools to give apprentices a globally competitive training. Some of these programs are also here in the Midwest, in Illinois, through ICAT and the German-American Chamber of Commerce. My question is, which role do you foresee for apprenticeships and vocational training to reach the attainment goals, and what role international partners can play in this?
Thank you very much. I'm glad you asked that question, or that you had taken this up, because I would say we are attempting to imitate, as the greatest form of flattery, what Germany has done in many ways. We believe, you saw on one of the slides that Christy George showed you, that we have the third largest community college system in the nation. Many people don't know that, but it's strewn throughout the state of Illinois, our community colleges. They are truly some of the best community colleges in the nation. And we have, during my tenure as governor, we have married those with the businesses that are in those regions and with businesses that are coming to the state of Illinois from other countries, so that we can train people not just for a degree in something hoping that they'll get a job, but for the specific jobs that are available from those companies that are either moving to Illinois or that are in that region. So we're very much focused on being a business-oriented community college system. We also have, of course, the opportunity for people who attend community college to move on to university with the credits that they gain in community college. What Germany has done to develop its skilled workforce is exactly the kind of thing that we want for the state of Illinois. And so I guess I'm looking back at you and saying, maybe you can continue to help us, not just by being a model, but offering us advice along the way as we are trying to do this better and better. I will say, for companies that come here, there are things, as you know, companies look for wherever they're thinking about moving and comparing one place to another. Workforce is the number one thing that I hear from companies about. Not just, it's what they're looking for, the number one thing that they're looking for. Energy also, is very important, but workforce. And they say about Illinois, and it is true, that we are one of the best in terms of our skilled workforce. We rank number one in the Midwest. We are in the top in the country, among the top states in the country, in terms of providing the kind of workforce development education that's necessary for people to get those skilled jobs. Thank you for the question.
Good morning, Governor. Thank you for sharing with us your vision. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Lucas Gioja, Consul General of Argentina, and the topic of our interest is education. And the questions are, given the new state mandates for 2026, how is your administration ensuring that AI literacy doesn't become a new digital divide, but rather a universal bridge for every student in Illinois? And what specific guarantees are being provided to the educators so they are empowered rather than replaced by these emerging technologies?
Thank you. I know AI is very much on the minds of everyone, I think, now. And may I say also that when I was a young man, I was part of an organization called the American Council of Young Political Leaders, and I was sent on a trip to Argentina to learn about your political system in Argentina. It was one of the thrills of my lifetime. Although I should add, we landed and there was a brief military coup that took place. So if you want to learn about a political system, that's one way to do it. Yes, sir. Oh, terrific. All right. Well, we have even more to talk about. I will say one thing I learned. One of the lessons I learned in life and in public policy making came from my experience in the Plaza de Mayo, when there was a big democracy rally on the day when this was happening. This coup took. It was like a 3-day coup, and it was over. It was about pay. It was about military pay in the end, but there was a huge, hundreds of thousands of people in the Plaza de Mayo, and in the middle of the plaza was a man with a cart, an ice cream cart. He was selling ice cream. Everybody is out of their minds concerned about the end of democracy, and here's a man selling ice cream in the middle of it all. And the lesson I learned is that if you can't feed your family and pay the bills, the form of government doesn't really matter that much to you. Who's in charge doesn't matter if you can't take care of your own family. And so I thought that was a good lesson to learn from Argentina. Anyway, that was not your question. AI is hugely important, and it is certainly a threat. It is also something that offers opportunity. And in the education system, it strikes me that there are two things we need to recognize. You know, I don't think any of us want our children learning, like in school, not from a teacher, but only from AI. And there is the possibility that that could be the result. I don't think that that will happen in the United States, because I don't know families that want their children sitting in a classroom or sitting anywhere, and the only thing they're learning is from a machine, essentially, or, you know, from AI. And so the economy is going to change. There is no doubt about it. But the service industries become more and more and more important, and I would describe education as a service industry. And AI should help teachers. It should be an advanced tool for teachers to do the work that they want to do, and to assist in individualizing education for students. But it should not be a replacement. And that's what we're aiming to do here in the state of Illinois, is to make sure that the advantages of AI are what we're utilizing, and not what I think is potentially a massive disadvantage of AI. So we're attempting to figure it out. I wouldn't say anybody has. I was just in Silicon Valley. I met with Anthropic. I met with Microsoft, which is partnered with ChatGPT and OpenAI, and we're they recognize that this is massive and it's a problem, and we are all going to have to figure out what the future economy is going to look like, and what the future of education, what the future of manufacturing and so on is going to look like. And I'll just say, we cannot allow, like, the worst parts of AI will happen if we do not have a plan for managing how this is going to affect people's everyday lives. And right now, in my view, I have not heard anybody in Washington advancing a plan, and certainly not anybody that's in power right now advancing a plan. And when I talk to the leaders of these companies, they will tell you it's happening right now. This is not 10 years from now. It's not some gradual thing. It's like the next 3 years. Everything is going to be turned upside down. And so I worry a lot about what that means for the state of Illinois, for the people of Illinois, and of course for the people of the United States and the world.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Governor. I'm very impressed and quite surprised about the governor's deep interest and understanding on Korean Peninsula issue, particularly in North Korea issue. It was very interesting. My question is on foreign investment. Many consulates general hope to contribute to job creation and economic revitalization in Illinois. For Korea, many of Korean companies such as Hyundai, Translate, the CJ Logistics have been making a large scale investment in Illinois and in the Midwest region. We understand that the governor is actively championing and supporting the foreign direct investment. In this context, I would like to hear is there any strategy and or plan, particularly the governor has personally emphasized to promote foreign direct investment and assistance to companies for their follows-on project and continuous partnership in Illinois.
Thank you for asking the question. And as the presentations that you've heard today indicate, we're very focused on foreign direct investment, and that we have Margot Markopoulos, we have Christy George, we have Kristen Richards and others. By the way, I'm surrounded by powerful women, and which I prefer because they're smarter than I am. But we are very focused on how we can be. I like to think of myself and my government as a concierge service for companies, international companies that want to do business here, but also for our companies here that want to do business in South Korea, for example, or throughout the rest of the world. So when we go on these trade missions, we're bringing with us the companies that will do business and are doing business with with countries across the world. So important to me, I can't control trade policy from Illinois. What I can do is be prepared, deal with the moment we're in to make sure we're making it as welcome as possible, but also to prepare for a moment when maybe we won't be in this current trade regime and beyond it, so that either we're returning to a more friendly environment for trade, or we're evolving into a better and more friendly environment for trade. And in particular, as you may know, our great junior senator from Illinois, Tammy Duckworth, has made several trips to South Korea. She has called me every time and said, "You need to come to South Korea." So she and I are trying to plan when the next time is that we can do that. But I want you to know that even if I'm not in South Korea, that we have an opportunity for us to continue the dialogue and work together, both for our companies here and for your companies in South Korea. Thank you.
Also, do not worry about